lunch and learn here. So hopefully, I know the problem we've had with a lot of lunch and learns is a lot of people don't have the interaction with it. So we're trying to get that too. That way, if you guys ask questions, we can always have that recorded later on. So this is our test run for it. We'll see how it goes. So the camera in the middle, as soon as you talk, points to you so you can see how it is up on the screen there. That way, hopefully, we'll have a better turnout. And then it'll also be reported on our Facebook page, so you guys can do that as well. I'm just going to go over the basics for our MLS. Everybody's familiar with CRMLS, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just hope you show something that I don't know.
All right. Likewise. So everybody's familiar with the login here. You just click on the MLS login. Once you're logged in, you'll get to your dashboard. Just to kind of go over some of the features that are here. Not everything is built right into CRMLS. Some of the features that you may not know. One is the MLS app that everybody uses. So you have two. You have MLS Touch and the CRMLS app. So you can see that one right here. That's the four blue lines there, and then the CRMLS is the house with the magnifying glass. Both of them allow you to do add edit to your listings right from your phone. So that's another key feature that I'll go over that you can do in the MLS. But I really enjoy the MLS Touch feature because you can just do a search with the MLS number for it, or you can do an area search when you're around. Very similar to the Home Snap, which was brought out probably now, I think it's been around for 8 years for it. And it was famous for its geolocation. People thought that they were taking a picture of a property and finding out information about it, but realistically, the GPS in the phone told them where the property was. So that was kind of like their sales gimmick for it. But obviously, all of our apps have that same technology to view it. I'll have a class on just the MLS mobile apps, but check out and download MLS Touch for it. You can share properties, you can text right from it. It makes it very easy for you to contact the listing agent if you need to call him or email him. That way you don't have to go into the MLS. One of my pet peeves about the MLS is that you have to click, and you have to click on the join the MLS page, and then you have to type in the listing. When it's on your phone, you use your passcode or your Face ID, you're in, and you just search the property. Like it's one click, one easy step, as opposed to using the MLS as a web page where it requires multiple logins. So hopefully it will be faster in the future.
But I still don't understand what you're saying. You will have to show it.
Yeah, we'll have an app for it.
Danny, this tool looks like a Home Snap, right? Kind of.
Oh yeah, it's Home Snap is branded though, so it's not really controlled by us. They're more of like a Zillow where they're trying to sell you leads or different advertising for it. So I mean, I would definitely check that out also, but the MLS Touch, there's gonna be no sales pitches. It's just MLS on it. And you can also access it for your clients if you want to send them a login for it. So they can actually use the MLS Touch as your mobile app.
But then you have to have it on your, because now you are in the MLS page where you are
Correct.
showing that app. But then you have to have the actual app on your cell phone.
On your phone in order to communicate through the app. But everything else, the data is the same, whether it's in the MLS or it's in the app
Okay.
for it. It's just an easier and faster way to access it. I mean, I don't know, like same thing like with Supra. I wish you could just walk up to the Supra box and it would just ping your phone and you just hit unlock. Like that's where we should be at. Instead, we have to push the button on the bottom of it. We have to wait for it to connect. Then we have to type in the code and then we have to unlock the box. You know, like there's 4 steps to it when it should just be one. And that's kind of what the MLS apps do now, is they're just faster, easier to log into because there's more security on your phone as opposed to a website to log into. So I think that's how everything's kind of evolved. Another one that we're going to go over, I think next week is CMA presentations, but there is the Matrix CMA that's built into it as you search through it, and I'll show you guys how to do a safe search. That way you can see how it's created. But the other option is Cloud CMA. And I usually do a class just on doing the CMAs for that. So check that out. If you haven't set it up before, just click on the link here on this main page. They'll ask you for your name, email, profile picture. You kind of set up the account for free. And that way you're ready for that class when we do that one. Another one that's just an easy way to do a property report is RPR. That's here on the bottom. So that's brought to you by the National Association of Realtors. So it's Real Property Resources for it. And that one you can actually download properties and information out of state. So it's great if you're doing like referrals, or you have a client that says, hey, I own something in Wyoming, what's the, title information on it, or what's the essentially kind of worth. That way, at least you can kind of give them an idea, even though we can't sell them that unless you have that license there. But it gives you an idea to pass to that next agent that you're going to refer. And that's kind of how this last listing I had that was from Portland, they referred it down here to Long Beach. So that's where he bought his future house. He bought it like 6 months ago, and then he wanted to sell this one. So she already kind of knew what the value was and updated me on it. And I was like, hey, it's going to sell for a lot more than that because the market here in the South Bay is crazy. But she kind of had an idea, and that's what she used to access it. Obviously, it's not as good as a title report or the realtist to log in. That's the other one is you can actually click on this link or right from CRMLS. Once I log in, you'll see that it has that tax information for it. So that's where you can find out how much the loans are on the property. They may not be paid, so you have to find that out through the bank, but you can see how much they kind of owe, what their potential sales score is for that. And this information can also be got from your title company. So Robert can give you a list of all that based on equity. So they'll have that same information. They can give you an actual farm package where it gives you that equity. So that way you're not going and knocking on homes that just bought it 2 or 3 years ago. You're knocking on homes that were 10 years ago, or potentially calling them for it. Showing time, this is linked to any listing for you to request a showing. There's also an app for that too. So I'll go over that when we do the app class.
So when the
Well-
agent says, use showing time to set up the appointment, you go to that app?
Correct. You can actually just click right on the listing for it to click the showing, or you can use the actual showing time app and type in the address and then request the showing.
Okay.
What's great about showing time, and what's bad about it, I guess, if you're the listing agent, is it'll actually keep calling you until you confirm that listing. So it's a nice way for us to, in our busy schedules, is if I want to show a bunch of homes on a Friday, on the Wednesday or Thursday beforehand, I can literally request all of these showing times, and I don't have to do anything. It'll just automatically book it on me. So it's almost having like a booking assistant for it. Some of the listing agents, though, put in a don't request it for it because they don't want all the inquiries and appointments. There is a way for you to turn it off on your listing. Most agents just don't know how to do that, so they just put that request in. So don't always request the showing unless they want you to do that, because you may piss them off and then they will not give you an appointment for it. So
Tell me, I didn't understand. You as a listing agent.
Yep.
You asked me to set up an appointment
Yep.
for showing time. What do you get when I set up the showing?
I get a
What do you-
request, like a calendar invite through the app, or I guess it could be
It's
through
telling you
email.
that Elena Morik from the real estate
Correct.
group.
Wants to
is
show it
saying-
this time,
Okay.
and I can either confirm it or deny it, or I can say
Oh,
reschedule it to this time.
You are the one who does that?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
So I'm booking it for you.
I thought that the app was set up in a way where if that slot is not taken, you can take it, but that
No,
doesn't have anything
it's
to
not
do
like
with-
your Calendly invite,
Uh-huh.
like when you book like meetings with people.
Uh-huh.
It's not like that where you can just book it. You have to have a confirmed appointment in order to get.
And so the listing agent is the one confirming.
Correct.
Oh, I didn't know
And it
that.
was great during the whole 2020 COVID appointments and having to get people
Right.
in. For most people with vacant properties, they just say go anytime.
Right.
But it's nice to have that scheduled and listed there, so that way they can see that. And you can also request feedback through it, just like you can through the super showing. So it's a nice way to show, your client, be like, hey, I got 20 appointments scheduled. This is how they're gonna come in. Obviously, it's hard to do like at an open house, but the last couple of open houses I've had in Long Beach, there's been 50 people outside. So the person there just takes a picture, and then I just show that, and they can't believe how many people showed up at it.
Mm.
I mean, the one that I did, I think it was in August. She brought me a stack of business cards that was probably 150 cards over the whole weekend from Friday, Saturday, Sunday for it. So I mean, like it's crazy how many people were. And that one, I think we had 40 something offers on. So that, I mean, this last one we only had 26, but still, it was a lot.
Only 26?
Only 26 on it. There's a couple other features on here that are more advanced. Glide clicks right through, so you can actually access this right through CRMLS. So it's not a CAR member benefit, it's a CRMLS benefit. And that's to do your forms like your SPQ, your TDS. It turns that into a questionnaire rather than a zip forms where they have to click the boxes and fill it out. This one asks them in a survey style. So it's like, how long have you lived in the property? Or have you done any repairs in the last 5 years? If the seller clicks yes, then it asks you, it's like, well, did you paint? Did you do any woodworking? Did you, it keeps following up with these questions. Because when clients read the TDS, they don't know how to fill it out. So the survey kind of helps them.
Oh,
on
that's
that.
good. So I didn't know that. That you already.
So I would start using Glide.
So
There is
Glide
a,
is for the TDS and SPQ?
yeah, there is a paid version that does a lot of the automation for you for like signatures and stuff like that. I'd only recommend that if you're doing,
No,
a
I
transaction
remember.
every other
No.
month, but the free version, most people can get away with. It's kind of like with the e-signatures, it's built into Glide too. So there's really no reason to pay for DocuSign unless you have multiple people working on the transaction, or if you have like a team, then I would recommend using DocuSign, but the free versions are just fine. My dad and I, we use everything free. We don't pay
Yeah,
for anything extra, just because we don't use it enough. Or to be, I mean, if you use it outside of real estate too, maybe you'd have it.
so, but then, in order for you to do the SPQ and the TDS on Glide,
Uh-huh.
if I would go and test it now, I click there.
Yep.
And the forms are there already?
Yep, forms are
And
already
then
built
when
in.
I send them to my client?
Yep, just like you do on zip forms.
So my client should have a good enough computer that will,
Yeah, so they're gonna give you an email just like they do in zip forms.
and
for
then they will
Lone
click
Wolf.
the link and then they will
Click the link,
start
they're gonna set
answering
their
the questions.
profile with their username and password for it. And with the, hey, access your signing folds. They're gonna click on it, and it's gonna ask them each question for it. And at the end, so they're gonna click populate. And that's gonna create all the text that they made and put it into the zip forms for them automatically, and then they sign it.
And then I will get that.
You get all that, all done.
I see.
No issues like
Cool.
before.
Good.
I know with
And
like,
of
the-
course, I review it and I may tell them, oh, that question that you answered, something that
yeah.
maybe it's not
Well, that's the
appropriate.
problem with zip forms is they can skip questions and not answer it. In Glide, they have to answer
They have
everything.
to, because they will not
Yeah.
let you continue.
Yep, so
Cool.
it makes it easier than
Okay.
the other
And
way
this has
around.
been on for a while, right? Glide.
Glide's been around, yeah, I think it's about in its third or fourth year.
I never used it. I
Yeah,
needed
test it
the
out. I mean,
class.
we'll go over it when I do like the e-signing and stuff, since it does have
Okay.
that feature,
Okay,
so you guys can see it
For
also.
today?
No, it'll be next class, it'll be a
Okay,
full,
actually.
yeah, I don't wanna take you guys too much
Yeah,
information,
yeah,
otherwise you won't
we
remember it
won't
all.
remember anything,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I
Um,
have a chance after here, go to Facebook and listen to you again.
Yep, yeah,
This
it'll all
is a
be there.
chance, yeah.
The other ones that you're gonna have for like e-marketing is your e-property watch. This sets up a automatic email, I think it's quarterly or monthly, to give a property evaluation for free to your client. This
What
has
is the
been
icon?
the
Yeah.
e-property watch.
It's good.
This has been around, I think, for
Yeah, that's
also like
For more
4 or
than
5
5
years.
years.
That was the first one I started with.
Oh,
I think it's been in probably about 5 years. But the newer one that we use is HomeBot. So that one you can pay for if you go over 25 clients. And I think it's like $25 a month or something, like it's relatively low in its cost. But I'll pull up the prices for it so you guys have it. I haven't hit it with my clients, so it goes through, but Durf has, so he pays for the premium because he has like 65 in it. And we've actually already gotten 2 listings from just that software. So I mean, literally it paid for itself. But the hardest thing with it is, with my database, is I have everybody's phone number for texting and email. Durf doesn't. He's dealing mainly with income properties and stuff like that, where he reaches these leads by mailing them, because they're either out-of-state owners or owner occupied, income properties. That's how he got it. So he only has their phone number and their address. Or that's all he has. He doesn't have their email. I mean, unless he's done business with them or they've requested a CMA from us. So that's why he only has like 65. I think his whole database that he mails to is somewhere in like the 250 range. So I said, if we had 250 on the HomeBot, we would never have to do any lead generation. That would just be it.
because HomeBot, what does it do?
So it links you with the lender. So Jonathan is on there as well. So every month it gives a home evaluation and it gives them an update on how to like refinance, how much their equity is. And it's really great because it shows you every time they log in and how active your top clients are for it. So I said, we'll do a whole class. Ricardo Bueno, he did our office meeting, I think probably before COVID. So somewhere in the middle of 2019. And then he did an online one that was just on HomeBot. So there is a video, I believe, on it on our library. And then I did an office meeting, I think it was last January, February. You guys could go back and look at that as well. So that's all there.
Danny, what's different between RPR and e-property watch. I think.
Well, yeah, property watch is just an automatic email report,
Mhm.
so it's just a property value on it.
Uh-huh.
The RPR gives them everything like comps. It's kind of a enhanced version of what the title
And it's
company
free,
can do,
yeah.
and it's free.
Free.
That's-
And how is accurate? E-property watch, how is accurate?
It's about the same as the CRMLS estimated value, which is through CoreLogic. So Realist gives it to you. It's hard to judge. I mean, they always give you a range for it normally. For the RPR, they just give you a value. So I haven't done enough RPR reports recently to see them, but an example is I'll pull up or if I can find the information for my Long Beach one to see, is I estimated it was probably in that 650 to 700 range. I wanted this seller to list it at 625, listed it at 675, and it sold at 780.
780.
So it's like no matter what kind of software you have now, you can't predict that kind of increase.
Yeah, absolutely, because if we send it to actually, I don't have any client now, but if I send this e-property watch to my client, it's gonna be get decided not work with me, because usually market goes up every day in
Yeah.
here, so.
Well, in the home bot one, you can adjust it, and I believe the e-property you can also. But what I always like to do is in the home bot one, since I can see the last time they clicked it, if they clicked it that day, I'll go in and do my own search for comps and then update it, and then they'll see that, hey, the price increased, and then they'll click on the link again, and then they got it, and then you send them a copy of the CMA that you did, and that way it's all done digitally. You don't have to even ask them because they're logging in, so they're
Right.
interested. It makes it less confrontational about a sale, because whenever we call anybody about their property, they know we're gonna ask them, when are you gonna sell? So this way, it's just more of informational based than a sales tactic on it. And then eventually, they'll come back to you if you're giving them enough information.
Do you know why the realist does not show an estimated value on income property?
I think it's just because it's skewed. It used to. I think it's been,
Because on the other hand, it's
3 to
really
5
hard to
years
find
ago,
comps for
yeah.
investment property. Sometimes there is the only 4 unit and the whole city sold like just 2 months
Yeah,
ago. And then-
next Thursday, Dirk will cover the CMA, so I think that's the best way. We kind of do it as a gross multiplier plus a cost per unit, that we kind of break it down. A lot of people use cap rates and stuff like that, unless you're very, granular in your finances, nobody cares about cap rate. With the gross multiplier, it's easy to justify that based on what the gross rents are. So if you have, $30,000
study that
coming in a
again.
year, you can say, hey, this property is gonna be worth $750,000. If you have $40,000 a year coming in, it's like, okay, maybe it's $950. If you have 60 coming in, we know it's way over $1 million in value, because the leverage on that and the rental cash coming in breaks it down. So that's how we do it. And it's easier to present the non-financial people that own income properties. If they're in the financial sector, or they're more like your engineer type, they want the cap rates and all that,
Right.
but that's dialing more in because you have to have expenses and all that. We're just doing basic gross numbers on it.
But usually those who want that usually work with agents who have a lot of experience
Yeah.
in selling that way, because they would not look for me, but
You never know. I mean, the market is so crazy now. I mean, there's a lot of people that can't afford a single family home, but they can buy a duplex or triplex, because they're using those two rents or a single rent
to pay the
to
mortgage.
offset it. So, I mean, right now, what's $2,000 or $3,000 a month if you have $1,200 or $1,500 coming in from the rental? You can qualify for $1 million loan.
Right, but that's for the buyer. And what I'm saying is the seller, whoever the seller is with that mentality that wants the cap rate, and they would look for an agent who has been doing this, who can provide that information readily, easy.
Normally,
Not me,
but
because I will have to really
this,
call your father and ask
everything
him,
is
please help
based
me here.
on relationships.
Yeah.
So if they know you, you're gonna get it, and if you don't have it, you can always team up with anybody in the office.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like right now, if anybody had a rental property, I would recommend it to Andy. He's probably done 12 or so. It's almost every month he's doing a lease. So I mean, even though I know, he has way more experience than I do. and he's doing it all the time. So that's where the advantages of working with somebody in the office that
Right,
specializes in that.
right.
You know,
Friend.
Kelly, she's a new agent and she is about to list a triplex and she's a new agent. But basically she got that listing through her husband because her husband's a contractor.
Oh,
So it kind of helps to know contractors or people who do construction.
right.
Because, I mean, that's how she got it. And she'll
Yeah.
probably list it maybe next week. And it's a triplex.
Where?
It's in Long Beach.
Yeah, Long Beach has a lot
So
of.
everything that was on that home screen, same thing, it's here for it. At the top, so you guys can see it going down from it. The My Matrix is pretty much where you have to change any information. So if you have any auto emails, which I'll go over, or saved emails, you can access them there. Any CMAs that you made through Matrix, so not Cloud CMA, are available here. They're all saved. Any emails that you sent are saved here. All your contacts are here, so you can actually use CRMLS as your contact management system. It asks you for a phone number, it asks you for an email. It's all in one place. And that also transfers to all of those apps that I talked about earlier. So there really is no reason to have, phone numbers in your phone because everything is here and CRMLS isn't going away. You lose your phone, you change your phone, you don't back it up. That's there. This information's here forever.
Yeah, every time I set up a client that I have the number on my cell phone, I always put it in the MLS. So if ever
Yep.
I
and
lose
that way
my
it's
phone
in-
or something, then I have it there, yeah.
The other one is under, under the add edit, I believe it is. So this is where you're gonna click to add any new listings in. There's a whole YouTube video I can go over and show you guys that CRMLS has on adding new listings. If you need to change any of them. But the only feature I want to get you guys to know now is how to modify your personal information. Most people don't know how to do this for it. So if you type in your user ID into here for modify agent or office, it pulls up your information. So this is how I'm listed in here as Daniel Fredericks for it. Phone number is my office code association. So I can change my photo for it. So this photo is what syndicates out to any public portal that accepts it. So Zillow used to, they don't anymore, but some of the sites do. So if you want your photo out there on your listing, put it in here for it. You can see that my photo hasn't been updated since I first got my license. So,
All of us, I think,
Yeah.
are very young.
so that one's there. Let's see, if I
So
cancel.
the
I
only
can go
thing you
back.
cannot change is the broker, because that you don't have access.
Correct, and then manage your contact information. So this is the information that's gonna show on that
On the
bottom of the
listing.
MLS listing. So you can choose whatever order. So I always have my cell phone for it, the direct, which is, I think it's the office phone number, and my email for it. And you can see all this can be filled in however you want. You can have your emails for offers sent to a different email if you want, or you can have your email sent directly to your own. So I know some people will have like their own domain. So like for mine, I get set up offers at DannyFredericks.com. That way they always come into there. And really that's, adding any designations that you have. But all this information can be changed for it. Just make sure it's all up to date for it. I'd recommend always having your cell phone number in there because in the app now, it gives you the option to text for it. So if agents are texting you, you don't want them texting the actual landline here at the office for it. So that's all of your just personal information that's on here. Let's see.
So and then
Searches,
you
yeah.
go to the roster to see if you did it right.
Or any current listing, yeah, that you had, it should update it to previous listings
Oh,
as
I see.
well
I see.
for it.
Those are closed already?
Yep, for it. So on here, you have all your search features. Most of us are only going to use the first one here, which is the CMA search for it. And then whatever you use most often, you can see is that second item. So that way you don't have to keep clicking to the tab to the right. So I always use the CMA option. It really doesn't matter as much now unless you're using the detailed. The detailed is if you're doing specific dates when you're searching comp. So if you want to start, like example we use it for is if somebody asks you, we need a dated death like appraisal for it. So I'm going to go back to like 2016 and I'm going to do 3 months before and 3 months after the person passed away to give them what the value was on that date. And obviously you're not going to have actives and pendings on that. It's just going to be closed. That's how that information shows up. So if you're doing the detail and you don't see any actives, double check and make sure that you have, the dates prior, or you leave it empty for it. That used to be an option, an error that everybody had before. But under the CMA feature for residential, you don't have that problem, because when you click on the listings, you can see it's just left as blank. So it shows you any current active listings. The only reason that you wouldn't want to put in a date for it is, let's say for the actives, if you put in yesterday's date for the actives, it's not going to show any other active properties
Right.
that could have been on the market for years. For it, you're not going to see it.
Yeah,
So it's always better to put less in your search than more. So always remember that, and if you're going to do any kind of square footage or bedrooms, use the plus and the minuses, or bracket them for square footage, like go from 900 square feet to 1,500 square feet, even though you don't know what the actual property square footage is. That way you're getting it all, because if you just leave it blank, it's going to show you the 500 square foot property in that area and the 5,000 square foot property all in that same search, and that isn't really comparable when you do it. So
and the months for the closed ones, do you use like 60 days instead 180?
well, 180 is probably plenty right now, because there's at least enough comps. Realistically, you want to have 5 to 10 that meet that exact criteria. Usually in this market, you can get it because there is only 2 or 3 closing per month, usually in the area, because there isn't a lot of inventory. So you may have to go back 6 months
Okay,
to find them, to hit that, but there's usually plenty. I mean, you can also bracket it based on
yeah, even at
single
30,
family and
some-
condo.
Yeah,
The other feature that most people forget is when you select on an option, you can always do more than one. So when you do condo, make sure you always do townhouse also,
Right.
because agents don't distinguish between
I
the
know.
two. Even though technically here in California, they're all condominiums, but some people list it as a townhome as a criteria of having more than 2 stories. So usually they'll have like a garage or some sort of storage room in it. So if we do condos for this area, you can already see that we have your little cube bar there at the bottom where it has how many matches. It kind of shows you how it's all working. So if I go and search our office zip code here for 90505, you see I already have 53 condos for it. So obviously we need to dial it down. So if I want to do, my client only wants 3 bedrooms. So we're going to do 3 bedrooms plus. So see, now I have 12. Perfect. That gives me exactly what that search area is for a CMA for it. So if we click on that search, you'll see that the first thing it gives you is your results. I always like to go to the map so you can see where they're actually at, and you can see with, and get the view here change, a little easier to see when it's not satellite. As you can see, zip codes are easy for us all to remember, but MLS areas usually dissected down a little bit more. So for that one, if you click on the layers tab, so this is from your jump to address, which if anybody ever needs to find your listing, like you can't find it or find a property that you're looking for, we'll type in the office address here. And magically, it's going to drop a pin right where we need to go. So on here, it makes it real easy where I can just zoom out. And I can see that, hey, maybe my client doesn't want to look at properties on the other side of Sepulveda. They're like, hey, I want it to be near this location. So it's kind of gives you an idea.
but the fact that you put this office address, what did it do?
It dropped this pin where the marker is.
Right, so then for you to see how, let's suppose that that is your mother's house and you're trying to find a condo for your brother.
Uh-huh.
So.
And they want to be like within a mile, let's say.
Right, so then the fact that you put that address is only to see how far
Yep.
the available units are from your mother's house.
Yep. So if you want to do that, well, let me show you the layers first so you can see. So these are all the different things that you can select. So if we want to do zip code, we can obviously see I've already did that by bracketing it out. So on here, the whole 90505 is that whole area. So you got your whole
that's
Volteria over there. You got some of the Riviera on the actual south side of BCH. You got Seaside, which is over there by Anza, and you got Southwood Riviera.
Right.
And then you got the whole commercial area over by Costco. So you can see this is a whole different area based on the zip code. But when we drop in the MLS areas for it, you can see it actually dissects it
Oh,
down
I
now
love that.
to give you a better idea of
I
where they
love
want to
that.
live. Now,
That's actually good when you have to set up a listing and you don't know what the MLS
so
area is.
we are unique here. Most of California doesn't have MLS areas like we do.
Mm.
They have zip codes. If you ask anybody, they prefer zip codes because it's easier to manage. In Long Beach, same thing. They have all zip codes. They have east, west, south of like the traffic circle, but everything else is kind of just one giant zip code area. And it's because Long Beach is so dense that there's enough people for that zip code and mailing addresses that it works. Same thing if you go like to downtown LA, Beverly Hills, you're gonna see there's a bunch of different zip codes all over, and you get to Beverly Hills and it's just one zip code.
Mm.
Right, so they make it easy for you to navigate, but I believe there's 3 different MLS areas just in Beverly Hills because it depends on where you're at.
But it's not showing the numbers.
It is, yep, so right next to the names of South Torrance, so that's area
Ah,
129.
Okay. I didn't
For
see
it, you got the Hollywood Riviera,
Yeah, yeah.
which
128,
they got 128 for it, Walteria for 125,
yeah.
and they got Southeast Torrance, which is 127 for it. So technically, we're in 129, but you probably would want to live in 127 also
Right.
for it. So if I get rid of the layers here, so you guys can see those go away. The other feature you asked is, what if they want to live within like a quarter mile of this location for it? So this one, you're gonna go over to the draw radius. So this is just next to that car, which I believe is, yeah, the drive time or like you're showing instructions. For us, so if I click on the radius, it's gonna give me a circle here for it. So as soon as I click down, I'm gonna hold, I'm gonna draw out, and you can see it actually does the miles for it.
Oh, I
So if I
see.
go a quarter of a mile or half a mile from our location, that only gives us 4 listings that are available. If I want to resize it, all I do is drag it out, so we can go, let's do a whole mile from our location.
What does it say, the miles?
Well, on that little bracket, I'm gonna change the zip code out, that way you guys can see more listings. So on the actual draw out, so let me go tab again. So the process is 0.93,
Oh, I see.
89. So if I go a
As you
full,
are using it, it shows you.
yeah, so let's go a mile and a half from our location here, so you guys can see how many listings there are. So this is gonna pull in from Marble Estates to Sepulveda. Obviously, there's no condos for sale on the other side of the Riviera. This is not based on price, there's just nothing for sale for it. If I change the criteria, let's do it as just single family homes. Might make it a little bit easier to find some.
Hopefully.
We'll see. I mean, we're at a unique situation here. So there's lots. These are all sold though. So let's do,
The red ones are sold.
yeah, let's do active and coming soon. That way you can see what our inventory is.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody trying to buy a single family
They are
home,
probably already negotiating to open escrow tomorrow.
if you click on all of them, you can see, where they're at, their information. So this is more like a thumbnail version for it. For all these, you can go right to the listing. You can also go right to that tax information for it. So this is a nice way to figure out how long they lived on the property. When you guys are doing your zip forms, it's always better to fill out the seller's name. If it's in a trust, you can also find that out. It just makes it easier for the listing agent to accept your offer because they don't have to change or do anything. You should see how many offers I get where it's just blank. And I actually will put in the agent remarks that the seller is, like this last one was a
Right,
trust. So I gave them the full name of the trust, like this is the seller.
right.
And that way it makes it easier for them to fill it out. And you also get a test to see if they actually read the actual agent remarks
Yeah, yeah.
before they wrote the offer for it.
Which some don't.
Most don't.
Most don't, yeah.
So that's kind of the breakdown of just doing the basic search here. Obviously, you can do, let's see, I'll delete this one. You can do the rectangle, you can do a polygon for it. So if I wanted to like draw out my own
What's that?
MLS area,
What's that? What
The
are those
polygon?
green ones?
these are all the active listings.
That's for what? For the 904, for what?
This is everything. So 5,000 listings. So let's say we wanted to look from Redondo down the coast. Let's go a little bit into PV, but we don't want to go that far into PV. We just want to go to this part of Hawthorne and go over. For some reason, they don't want to be at Silver Spur for it. You can readjust it and go like, let's go from here. You can readjust it up here to Torrance Boulevard. So you can draw really whatever section you want them to live in. If they don't want to live in that certain neighborhood, you know, they don't like the school over there, that all happens too. We're unique here for Torrance, but you can actually do the school districts as well. Obviously, we're all of Torrance, but you can see where the Redondo is bordering it, since we do have Torrance addresses in Redondo, and it's kind of confusing for us. So any of these like down here in the Riviera are actually Torrance schools, even though they have a Redondo Beach mailing address. So this way you can also find out that school areas as well. City of Torrance, you can go to any school. They just recommend that you go to your closest, I think. So you may have to call them. But I believe you can go to any Torrance high school you want. It just, do you really want to drive from South Torrance all the way to North, or North all the way every day to drop your kids off? I guess that's up to the parents for it. See what else can I do for a search. So let's do just a regular residential. I'm just going to do it quick so you guys can see. Another feature before I show you, a lot of people will do a search and then they get interrupted. Something happens, and then 3 hours they log in and they're disconnected from their MLS. So I think if you logged in for only a little bit, if you leave this window open on your browser, you can see so far we've been in the MLS for 31 minutes for it. If this is open, you never have to re-log in.
Oh, really?
It automatically keeps you as an active status for it.
Even if it's hours and hours?
Even if it, well, the computer still has to be on. So as long as it stays there and it's still counting down, you can stay in as long as you want for it. But that window has to be open. Some people will close
The one
windows.
that you showed.
Yeah, the
that
one with your
picture,
main
because
dashboard, yeah.
If you were in the open detail or anything,
Correct.
which I have sometimes.
And I'm sure it times out after maybe like an hour of not
Right,
using it,
right,
but
Right.
most of the time I can keep logging into it over and over again throughout the
So
day.
you don't have to log in again and again.
Nope, just making sure you click on that window and do something on it, that way it
Okay.
stays active. So this is just your basic search window here. And then on the right-hand side, you can see your recent searches. So every search that I've done is there now, temporarily saved. I think they go back about 25 searches. So you can see the last time I looked for income property searches, when I just searched an
Where
MLS
did you see
ID,
that? Show us where you
Yep.
have.
it's on the right-hand side under recent searches.
Ah,
So this is everything, it's just temporary though, so when you run out of do too many listings, it goes back, but you can see for me, since I don't use it too often, it goes back to last Tuesday for it,
How long
So-
is staying temporary?
until you fill them all up. I think it only holds like 25 here, it looks like.
so then, if you want a new one, the last one will go away.
Correct, so that's like I said, if I was just doing my income property one, closing Redondo, I did this back on last Tuesday, or this week's Tuesday, 11:45. I can click on that right now, and it takes me right back to where I left off. Like I didn't
I
even
see.
lose it.
I
And
see.
then, let's say I want to switch back now, I'm doing something else, I can go back to, let's go look at the condominiums that we were looking at today, 5 minutes ago. Boom, I pull that screen back up. That's
That's
there.
great.
So that way, in case you get interrupted and stuff changes,
Or,
it's all there.
if you close your computer and then you said, oh, I forgot.
Yep,
And then you have to
There-
start all over again.
exactly. The searches are already there, the criteria is already filled
Right.
out.
So then you don't
Mhm.
have to, sometimes when I send an email to a client where I send all the comps, for example, if they want to see. And then I have to go back to that sent email because. the
To look and
listings
see what
are
the
there.
criteria
But if
was.
I would want to actually change the criteria, then I have to start all over again. But if I go to the recent
Click on the recent
searches,
searches
yeah,
and you're back.
at least the only thing that I will have to do is, okay, instead 2 bedrooms, let's put 3 bedrooms
Yep.
or whatever.
We'll do another search. Let's just do coming soon so we can see, and we'll do. Let's do all the city of Torrance and see how many we have. We got 6 for it.
6 coming in.
So 6 coming soon, all over the place, looks like from Venice to 220th for all of them. 2 condo townhomes and 4 single family homes. So let's say I got a client that's looking at Torrance that wants to buy something that's not for sale. They've already seen everything. So from here, all I have to do is click on all the properties for it. And then at the bottom here, click email, who I'm gonna send it to.
Danny?
Yep. I got mine here. I'm gonna be like, coming soon in Torrance. There's no criteria, nothing sent on it, and I click send.
Mhm.
That email will send out around. Now, this is if you're gonna do it just one time. This is just an email of the listings or the criteria that you pick for it. But let's say I want to set this up now as automatic, where I don't have to do this search every day, but every time there's a new coming soon in Torrance, Danny gets an email on this.
Uh-huh.
So same thing, I'm gonna click this criteria for it all. Under the save feature at the bottom, I'm gonna do either a new save search or an auto email. So the save search is for us to just go back and look at anytime we want. The auto email is for our clients for it. So I'm gonna click on a new auto email for it. I'm gonna pick Danny as the client again here, so I can find mine. That's me, yep. We're gonna do new coming soon in Torrance. Now I'm just gonna put auto email so I know this is what their welcome email that they're gonna get. Let's see, you can do some more settings here at the bottom. This is actually gives you back to your main edit if you want to change your signature. I recommend whatever you're using in your current email provider, Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, Hotmail, just copy and paste it right into here. That way it's uniform for it. Under the settings here, you can see you can actually do a concierge mode where you as a listing agent pick it. I've only had to use this for lease properties where it require or they have animals. So they obviously don't want to look at everything. So I have to manually go in and look at all the agent remarks and see if pets are allowed. And then I would approve that to go to that client. The other feature is when you got a buyer that only wants a pool for it, or maybe a big enough backyard that they can put a pool in. So that's where you have to do that research because they want that criteria. Obviously, that's harder to pick, if they have it or they don't have it. So all the pools, if someone's looking for a pool here in Torrance, chances of them finding a listing is going to be maybe one a month. It's going to come up. But there may be big enough backyards where they can put a pool,
Right.
and that's where you as the agent can look at the square footage and look at the area photos to see that, hey,
Pictures to
and you can
see.
send that to them and be like, hey, let's buy this property because it's less, and just spend the money and put a pool in the back for it. The other feature on it is make available for reverse prospecting. This allows other agents that have listings, if that criteria comes up, they can see our name as the agents for it. So it's a nice way to do a follow-up to see if that client clicks that they like that property as a favorite or a possibility, it'll be registered to my name saying that I have a client that has it favorite. The reverse prospecting is kind of skewed though, because if anybody in here gets a listing, you're gonna see my name, you're gonna see Andy's name, you're probably gonna see Dirk's name, and we don't have clients. We just have our whole office saved so we can see whenever there's TRG listings coming through as well. The other option is you can only have 12 of them, and I'm maxed out, but you can click in as a favorite for this search. So this is a client that you're working with. You can add it to that main screen, which I'll have to go back and show you. On the left-hand side, it's a quick click. That was once you're into that, you can just click on that listing and see it for it.
Yeah, that's too complicated. I didn't get it, but it's okay. You don't need to.
Well, no, it's just a favorite search, so it's just
Oh,
on the
yeah.
main screen for it.
It's too complicated.
The other one too, on the bottom here is I always do the default as morning. If you're not a morning person, change it to PM because the emails, I believe, go out at 8 o'clock in the morning. So they may think that you're working because the system just automatically generates emails for it. If not, I believe they go out at like 4 o'clock for the PM. If this is for your personal use or you just want information from the MLS, then I would do the ASAP for it because that's as soon as a listing is put in.
It comes up.
The only issue with that though is if the price is put wrong or square footage or bedrooms or bath, that client may get an email for it and they'll see that, hey, this property is for sale for $100,000.
Right.
And it should have been $1 million for it. So you don't want that email to go out. So usually it's corrected within, 30 minutes. So the actual set to AM and PM will fix that. If it's ASAP, the email's already been sent to them. Obviously, if it gets corrected, then they'll be able to click on it and they'll see the correct information, but that's all there. So I'm gonna send this one as an auto email for it. So we just did an email normally and a auto email. So if I go to my sent emails, so you guys can see, these are all of the emails that you've sent. And you can see that I use it just as much as I use the auto email. And it shows you when they actually viewed that email, which is great because you can see that I'm working with 2 buyers and they haven't opened up a damn email that I
So
sent
you
them.
know what? One thing that I have noticed in my in the main MLS page before you go, it shows which clients have seen shows the client
Yeah.
name that has seen it at 2 p.m. But then if I go there, it doesn't show the time if it was yesterday.
Okay, so yeah, for that one, so this is just all of the emails that have been sent to the system. So you can
Right.
see that this morning, this was auto for it, because these are all the ones I have set up. This coming soon, I sent myself for it. So this is where you'll see the emails for it. So now if I go to the My Matrix, this is just under sent emails. If I go to the auto emails, these are things that are automatically generated. So we'll pull up, where's Vishal? So he's got 2 different areas that he's looking. One is Arcadia, West Covina, Alhambra. So you can see that this is sent ASAP. And the last time he visited it was Tuesday, so 2 days ago for it. So if I look under I think it's the bottom here, so sent emails, you can see which ones they've opened. So that Tuesday, he looked at everything from February 12th on, and then there was just one sent that was ASAP at 11:58 a.m. He hasn't looked at that one or the one yesterday. And see what time it was sent at, so you can see. It doesn't show it after the day goes by, I guess it just shows.
And
the-
when you
the
see that
time.
they saw the email that you sent, do you follow up asking them, have you seen it, or they get back with you? Usually, what is your experience?
So on this one, so a good example is he's still active, but you can see though, he kept going back and looking at them all. So this was probably on the 10th. He went back and looked at everything for that whole week. And so probably because his work schedule, he only has that one time, so that was 7 days ago. So obviously it's like every Thursday, every Friday, he goes through all of the emails that he's got, because this is his personal email to find out on those listings. But on these, if you see a bunch, let me see if I can find another client so you guys can see. So the ones here on the red, that have the exclamation mark, those have been disabled for it. So I did that purposely because it's been 2 weeks or something since they opened something. So as soon as they stop receiving the emails for it, they're gonna realize, okay, I need to contact the agent again. Or if they go back and try and access one of those auto emails from previously, trying to get around, they can't access it. So either way, they're gonna have to call me to get it, and
Or forget about you and you forget about them.
well, same thing, yeah. But the difference I've noticed though with the way these are all set up though is almost every buyer that really wants to buy something already has a Redfin and a Zillow account set up for it. Problem is with that though is they do get kind of auto emails, but they have to log into the system to view it. This is sent right to their inbox, so they don't have to even think.
Right,
So
you are doing it for them.
once they have this system set up, they're addicted to it because they want to know. And you'll see some clients, I mean, they're opening them up as soon as they get the emails every morning
I see.
because they really want to buy.
Have you gotten business out of those clients that you have sent out to emails?
Well, I can see what they want, but the problem is like the 2 that I'm working with now, they've been
You
friends
have a picture
forever,
right now?
and they haven't narrowed down where they want to buy for it. They have a price, obviously, of what they could spend, but like my good friend from high school, Jared, that's on here, he's looking all the way from Alhambra to like Pasadena, and then he's like, well, I can always do West Covina and stuff like, and then it's like, well, you gotta make up your mind. So this is me more of just educating them so they can see how fast they're selling.
Right,
And then there's actually been a couple though that they saw from my auto email. I was like, hey, go drive by it first before we do an appointment to view it,
yes,
and then we'll go, because I said they don't know the area, and I don't know that area enough too to tell them that,
Right.
hey, this is better. But I can tell them that, hey, if they buy something now, it's gonna be better than waiting 5 years from now to buy.
exactly,
And
exactly.
most of them are sitting on enough savings that they can, they just don't want to pull the trigger on actually
Right,
buying
right.
it.
Right,
So if I look at, I'm trying to look at Ashley's maybe here. So she was also a friend that was looking, but this is just a lease
And
listing
then
for it.
when you send these auto emails to buyers, it's only the active ones, or the coming soon, right? You don't send the pending,
Correct,
or the
yeah,
sold ones,
yeah.
no.
And
For them to
usually,
know what's
depending on what they
selling.
want, if they'll ask them, like in that area, they want to know how long properties are normally on the market. So that's where you would do a buyer CMA for it. So I told them, I was like, because they didn't know, they grew up here in the Torrance area, and I was like, hey, there's nothing here for what you want with 4 bedrooms under $900,000.
Right.
So I was like, if you go anywhere else in LA, you can
would-
find something probably in the 700 to 900 range.
Right.
But that's where I just did estimated, being like, hey, property sell this fast here, this is the price per square foot, this is the average home sale. And that you can just do with that one sheet for each MLS search that you do for the CMA, and I'll go over that in the CMA class.
And in the
Or-
same, the buyer CMA, does it show, well, I guess you're gonna show us, does it show that it was listed for 700 and it's sold for 950?
Is all of them have
Where you show, look, this is more or less a 10, 20, 15% above asking that you need to think of when you wanna make an offer in this area. If
so here's
anything.
the example, like one of those, that you can see on those actives. This one doesn't show since it's already the auto email, but it also says when they actually look at it based on the what is it, the yellow dots. I'm trying to see the shawls here, so you can see the results. The ones that are yellow, yes, it has the dates on it. And so this one he's never looked at,
Mhm.
but that was also emailed out this morning at 12 hours ago. That is automatic. Trying to think what else I can do to show you guys on here. Says the searches.
And maybe by the
Um,
time he sees the email, maybe in 2, 3 days from now, some of those actives are already under contract.
Yep, yeah. Probably the easiest way, I mean, I tend not to use the MLS just because it takes too many steps to log into to like find a property. Let's say most of the time they're driving around their neighborhood and they're like, hey, this home's for sale. How much is it?
Right.
And I go, well, it's obviously out of your criteria because you would have seen it from me. Or, I mean, obviously it could be
Yes.
coming soon. It could be an unethical agent that
Right.
doesn't, is trying, not put on the MLS. It's fine. It's rare that it happens, but most of the time it just doesn't meet their criteria, but
Exactly.
they still want to know what it is.
Right.
The easiest with that is just pulling out your phone and doing a Google search of the address. The other way to do it is clicking on the cross property for it and then just picking a property address. So let's do 3765 and we'll do 177th Street. See what shows up. Let's try a different address, 63. Maybe it doesn't have a TH, let's see.
No, actually, you don't need to put a PH, just a number for the street.
Yeah, it should show up one. Let's see how many show up here for this. There we go. I'll pick one on Baycourt. So you guys can see. And sometimes there might be more than one, and it's because it depends on how many times it's been sold.
Right.
So this one actually shows you all that history on that listing. So chances are, it's been listed or sold eventually. It just may not be active in the MLS now. It could be incomplete or, before there was no coming soon. Now they have to at least put it in. It's coming soon, so you may not see it if you're just showing your client active properties. But on this one, you can see though, last time it was sold was 2013 for it. And you can actually go back to most listing information, I think back to like 1995, as long as it was sold here by a realtor, yeah.
Right.
And that's the best way to search for a property. If you can't find it, you can see that sometimes they only have one photo. Because that's all they required back then.
Oh, back then it was, you're lucky.
Well, I think
there
it
is
was
one photo.
storage related, and they figured once it switched over, why would I save all the property photos? Now we obviously save them all for historical record, but technology was different back 20 years ago. Trying to think of any other searches that they do. Let's do.
By the way,
Sold.
you have that screen open. How do you do to have another screen open for the same search? There is a command that you can have multiple screens.
Yeah, so if you have Chrome, or you can actually click on Control and do like another search if you want. I think they fixed it. Where it only allows you to have one, tab
Oh,
open
it's
for
only
the
one tab,
searching.
okay.
Otherwise, it gets confusing to the system for it. So let me do a closed property so you guys can see.
I'm gonna have to leave soon
And
because this is so
George.
cold in here.
Yeah, it's getting
Ah.
cold. Yeah.
I'm not freezing.
I don't know if the windows are open or. Let's see. Let's pick a property. So on this one, rather than going to search for it, I can click right on that actual listing, take you right to the real list for it. This one isn't as detailed and thumbnailed for it, but if I have, let's do non-condo, make it easier for you guys. Let's do it single family. There we go. This is over. Hey, it's actually one of
Yes, it
ours.
does.
The one we sold. Look
Yeah.
at that. Who would have thought? Random. It's not that random. So we go to
I did open house there a lot.
do
And that was one
realist
of the
for it.
properties that it was amazing that it didn't sell right away. Sometimes it happens, you have no explanation for it.
Well, I think it all depends on properties being vacant. I mean, if it's a perfect market, it's always better for the sellers to go rent another house or even get a hotel room.
Yes, yes.
Because if a buyer can walk into a property and feel like it's theirs, they're already sold, and they're gonna buy
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
When you got your own stuff in there, they don't feel confident.
Unless the price is really so good, that then they will say, okay. But if the price is right on what it should
For the
be,
sellers, though, you want multiple offers, and the only way to get that is having the property vacant or very limited furniture in it,
right,
and they can go whenever they want, and the seller's gone.
right.
I mean, that's the perfect for us, on our side, to sell the property multiple times. So for the realist, for anybody that looks up this, I would do this before I do any listing. Type in the property address. You can also search by name, the MLS listing number if it's ever been
And
listed
also in
before.
the address, you don't need to put the whole thing.
No,
just
you don't.
Just
Yeah,
the
you can actually
number
just
and the
put-
street.
yeah. I think you can even leave out if you just do
Yeah.
the number and the street, it'll know. Actually, it does.
I think it needs the street. I think it needs that, yeah,
Yeah, it probably doesn't need street at the end, but it just needs,
yeah.
the number. So what's great about this one is if you scroll down, you can see who the new owners are, since we sold this one. It's not our clients anymore. Shows you what their new tax is for it. And then if you scroll down, it gives you all the criteria. So most of this, you're gonna put into the MLS listing when you take it. Has a year built, the exterior walls, everything's all
Footage,
and put there. If you scroll down though, this is where you have that seller indicator. So this is where you get the estimated value and all that. And this is kind of stuff that Robert can give you. It's a little bit more dialed
what does it
down.
mean, the sales score?
We'll show you right here. So it's very high and moderate. Most of the time you're gonna see in our area here in the South Bay in that 700 range or higher. And just because they have a lot of equity. So that's why it's ranging it to sell more. But it's really great though is the actual estimated scores here. So you have the 727 as the low, 820, and that's if they just sell it now. When they bought it, they bought it for 779. So you can see that updated to this new price for it because it's sold. I'd have to go back and look at our previous on it, but my guess is it was probably a little bit lower on the range. So this is probably like 699 to maybe
800.
well, or 750, yeah, somewhere in that range, not knowing for it. So the range isn't necessarily always accurate, but we tend to always be on the higher end
Fine.
for it. And so obviously they're not gonna be able to flip this home and sell it here in 60 days for it, but I can tell you in a year from now, it's probably gonna sell for that 820. Just the way everything is going. Shows you all the information, who sold it, so you can always look up and see who your competition is. What's great about that is on the buyer side, I think that shows too. So, and it's at the top. It is on,
No, it doesn't show who the buyer's agent. Is that what you're looking for?
yeah, I thought I did
No,
on
no,
here.
buyer's agent, no.
Okay.
No.
Because it's a nice way to look up though
So
for
only the
like
listing.
expired listings and stuff like that, so you can see who the competition is, because if chances are they still know who they are. So you want to make sure that you're not competing against somebody that there's no chance for you going against them. They've been in the business for a long time. Or maybe it's a tactic where you only want to pick people that have been in the business for a long time. So you can go either way. You can see what the purchase price is for it,
To go.
and then the loan for it. So you can see that they actually leveraged as much as they wanted, and it was FHA. So this was looks like either it wasn't VA, so it was 3% down the minimum for this. So they got a loan for the full amount, and they only put $15,000 down to purchase this property. And you can see the previous owners on it, all of their information here at the bottom. And you can see kind of how the loan has changed over the years. Sometimes it might be higher or lower, but when they originally bought it, they bought it in 1997. They only financed 35,000, looks like, for it. Looks like once the property value is increased on it, they pulled some money out or got a higher loan for it. And you can kind of see that they just got refinancing and probably pulling out $20,000-$30,000. This also could be like home equity loans or HELOCs for it too. So they may not be the actual dollar amounts, they may have changed over the years. But when you usually get down to the last one, which was the 253, that's usually kind of what they actually still owe on that property. Or it's usually pretty accurate because that's 2016, so they may only owe 240 on it. So if they're selling this property, for 780,000 for it, they know that they're trying to get $500,000. So they're trying to get the max they can tax free. That looks like what their goal was for it. So when this one gets up to $1 million in value and their home drops down to 500,000, that sales score is pretty good. Or like that person wants to sell. They're either going to move up or move out of the area. You do have the plot map and everything here at the bottom for the property. But that just about sums up kind of realist for it. You can do your own trends, comparables on it all. But so the best is to get your title company to do that for you. So any questions about just MLS basics?
It was good, thank you.
All right. I said it'll be recorded, so you guys can go back and rewatch it.
I always have questions.
Yeah.
So I submitted an offer, but since I'm like a rookie, I basically I submitted the offer on the MLS and I also sent an email. But do you normally do that? Do you submit the offer on the MLS, or can you just send them an email? Is that good enough? Because I basically was like I just did it both. I did it on the MLS, I submit the offer there, and I also sent an email.
Yeah,
But-
so the email, when you click submit,
Mhm.
that's usually done right through Glide.
Yeah.
So Glide, and I said,
Mhm.
I'll do a whole class on it because there's a lot more newer features that you guys can use for it. But Glide is actually really nice for doing offers because it'll send the offer to the agent,
Mhm.
and rather than making it a PDF, it actually gives them a link, kind of like going to like a Dropbox or a Google Drive.
Mhm.
And when they click that to view that,
Mhm.
you can actually get a text message saying that they opened that. And then when you go back into the Glide account, you can see when somebody, and it'll be anonymous, but it'll say that somebody opened up this offer package. So that way you know they received it.
Mhm.
On the last two listings that I had, when you're getting 40 and 50 offers on properties,
Mhm.
there was like 3 or 4 that just went to my spam for it. And I don't know if it was because of the agent emailing out too many offers, or their account may have been, hacked a year before and they just don't do a lot of emails, like whatever the reason was. But on the day that I was accepting all the offers, I had to go back through all my spam, and I actually found 3 other offers
Wow.
that never responded. They never even contacted me. They never sent me a text message. They never called, be like, hey, did you receive my offer? So if you don't get a response back from an agent within like 24 hours,
Mhm.
send an email to them directly or text them,
Mhm.
and then also copy their broker or whoever like their manager is for their office. That way you get a response, because otherwise, if your offer is never seen, how am I going to present it?
Mhm.
Or, and I said it could have been one of the higher offers, and I just never saw it.
So there is a chance to go to a spam, so.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and depending on your email,
For
system,
no
whatever you
reason.
use, if you use Glide,
Mhm.
it'll go through because it's through a third party. It's somebody separate. Same thing, you can always submit it through zip forms too. You can email it directly to the agent. So that may be another way. And there's nothing wrong with emailing it twice. Email it from one and then email it from the other. And that way, I would always text them or call them right after and say, hey, did you receive my offer? Or just respond.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I was like, well, if I send it twice through Glide basically and through email, at least I sent it twice.
Yeah.
And
I don't think a listing agent is gonna get mad that you sent it twice.
Yeah.
At least that way they got it.
Even
So-
though one kind of did, he's like, I already got it.
Well,
I'm just like,
but at least-
I just want to send it twice. I
But
wanna
did they
make
respond to
sure.
the first email?
But they did say receive, but I was
Oh.
kind of like, I'll just send it twice, basically through Glide and through an email, because sometimes on the remarks, they'll say, send offers to
A different
email,
address.
they'll put email.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but yeah, things could go to junk or spam, so.
And I've done that too, where I've sent it to the email that they tell you in the agent remarks,
Mhm.
but then I also send it to the agents personally, like if it's a team account or
Mhm.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
that way they know they got it.
Mhm. And what else?
All right, and that's it.
And
So,
all your meeting is in your Facebook, so.
Oh, no, so it'll be in the TRG Facebook group, with all the recordings, and then it'll also be posted on our video library as
Right,
well.
okay.
All right.
We have this chance to see it several times.
Yep, so I'll try and do it at least for ours here. And I think next is DERF with CMA.
Mhm.